There are inherent dangers when you choose a career as a flight attendant.
The lifestyle of a flight attendant comes with many perks. Free trips around the world, unfiltered access to the rich and famous, and for many hostesses, a chance to acquire extra income by selling their bodies. But what happens when these ambitious flight attendants get exposed for their inappropriate relations with passengers?
I just felt abandoned. I felt alone. I don't know what I'm going to do.
How do they navigate the public scrutiny and hurdles that emerge and keep their careers afloat? Join us on this special episode as we unveil stories of flight attendants caught with customers. Lisa Robertson. Remember? The flight attendant who hooked up with a famous actor while flying miles high in the sky? The story of Lisa Robertson's entry into the Mile High Club remains etched in the minds of millions around the world who got a front row seat to the forbidden affair that ruined careers forever. It all began with an infamous flight back in 2007 when Oscar award-winning English actor and film producer Ralph Fiennes was traveling from Darwin to Mumbai. Going by the story told by the Qantas air hostess, Lisa Robertson, the whole affair began from the first moment she set her eyes on him, as the 44-year-old Fiennes settled into his business class seat for the 9-hour flight. Robertson, who already had a huge crush on the actor but never had the chance to meet him, saw their unplanned meeting as an opportunity to express her secret desires towards Fiennes. She mentioned how the actor was allowed to break the aircraft rules by sitting beside her on the crew's jump seat, used during their breaks. At first, it started from chatting, but soon the two ventured into other territories. As the stewardess would later admit, they were giving each other clear body language, as well as one odd kiss or two shared in the moment of passion. But as her break ended, Robertson knew their meeting was also nearing its end. So she scribbled down her phone number so maybe they could meet at a better place and a better time. But her inflamed desires could not wait till they landed. So within a split second, she made a terrible judgment that would pull down everything she'd built professionally, while doubling as her shot to fame. As Robertson revealed to her friends, "I just stood up, reached down for his hand, and told him to follow me. We went into the toilet and locked the door, and off came much of our clothes." Just like that, Fiennes was locked in a forbidden romance with a flight attendant in the aircraft's lavatory. It was a story worthy of a soap opera. Their encounter was passionate, unprotected, and pretty reckless. And as expected, it didn't escape the notice of the other airline staff who first waited outside the door for them to finish, before later reporting to the bosses. This was the beginning of a long and arduous fight for both parties to save their public image and their careers. As soon as the news floated into the top offices, Robertson found herself facing a panel board who subjected her to intense questioning so they could understand every little detail there was to know about the incident. In a shocking turn of events, the attendant chose to lie at first, telling her bosses at Qantas of how Fiennes had supposedly followed her into the lavatory before making his intentions known. Robertson claimed she firmly expressed how inappropriate it was for him to have followed her, and even successfully convinced him to leave. Robertson then went further, claiming she had actually expected the other crew members to come to her aid, but no one did, while also mentioning she had no idea the other staff members gathered outside the lavatory for so long. However, the romp didn't even end on the plane, because after landing in Mumbai shortly after 7 p.m. local time, Robertson then traveled to the Grand Hyatt, a hotel located about 20 minutes from the city's international airport. Going by the record at the hotel where other Qantas stayed for the night, Robertson never slept in her room, but instead headed to Fiennes, who apparently called and asked to see her again for another passionate time together. While the flight attendant harbored a secret desire to kickstart a relationship from the encounter and hoped he would finally lift her out of bankruptcy, this singular event sent everything she had down the drain. It was also revealed that Fiennes had not actually initiated the affair, and a large percentage of Robertson's earlier confession was false. The media scrutiny on the former undercover police officer turned stewardess was immense, and Fiennes himself could not escape being vilified by the headlines that emerged. But at least Robertson was able to cash in on her story, as media houses began throwing money at her to get those juicy details about her rendezvous. This next case, however, ended in a highly publicized arrest and a possible conviction that could ruin a life. Estes Carter Thompson. Disturbing is a tame way of describing the actions of Estes Carter Thompson, a 36-year-old male flight attendant who was caught trying to capture the private moment of an underage passenger. On September 2, 2023, Thompson was working on a flight going from Charlotte to Boston when his paths crossed with a 14-year-old passenger who will not be identified to protect her privacy. As the story goes, the passenger was on her way to the main cabin lavatory nearest to her seat when she discovered it was occupied. Thompson then appears in the nick of time and gives the minor a chance to use the first-class lavatory. To crown it all, Thompson even accompanied her there. But just before she entered the bathroom, the flight attendant allegedly told her he needed to wash his hands, and then informed her that the toilet seat was broken. Everything became clear when the teenager entered the bathroom and saw red stickers on the underside of the toilet seat lid, which was open, and on those stickers, someone wrote the words, "Seat broken." But then the teen noticed an iPhone tucked beneath the tape with the camera and flashlight on and proceeded to take a picture. The girl then informed her dad how the man had tried to record her private moment with his concealed phone, leading to Thompson's near confrontation with the father before he locked himself in the lavatory. By the time he emerged from his hiding place, the flight attendant had restored his iPhone to factory settings, successfully wiping off the entire memory and gigabytes of evidence that would easily convict him as a sex offender. Unfortunately for him, though, his confidence in his ability to escape the law was grossly overestimated, because all it took for investigators to find the truth was logging into his iCloud account, where they found AI-generated images of adults being inappropriate with children, a crime which could send him away for 15 to 30 years. They also found disturbing pictures of unaccompanied minors filmed by Thompson, including close-ups of her face and other nerve-wracking images. The public uproar was beyond tremendous, as Thompson became the internet's punching bag, with millions of people calling for his head. As his charges continue to rack up, all of whom he pleaded not guilty to, only time will tell how this dramatic event will turn out. Jane Doe 1. When this unnamed Delta Airlines flight attendant bumped into gay adult entertainer Austin Wolf during a flight, he probably didn't expect the meeting to become such a huge controversy. To the passengers and crew that day, the flight went without a hitch. But everything changed when an adult video of the flight attendant and Austin Wolf surfaced online. It didn't take long for the video to go viral on Twitter, and since the attendant was in his uniform, fellow employees within Delta Airlines were able to identify him. To sever their connections to such a scandalous story, the airline quickly suspended the attendant. As the scandal gained more momentum, he also began taking legal action against Wolf for posting the video without his permission, while also contacting Twitter to remove the video. Delta Airlines would later release a statement saying, "This video does not reflect the standards of professionalism expected of our employees while representing the Delta brand or traveling as passengers on Delta aircraft. We have suspended the employee and are conducting a full investigation." The case would also eventually get buried, and it remains unclear whether the attendant was punished or not. Vooty Myon. Quitting her job as an air hostess was one of the biggest career decisions for former Vietnam Airlines attendant Vooty Myon, who surrendered her prestigious position to become the head of a prostitution ring. The story began when Vooty Myon herself began exploring ways to make extra income through her access to wealthy passengers. As a woman beautifully crafted by nature's hands, Myon made herself an eye candy, appealing to the lustful eyes of many of the male passengers. Her empire soon grew from a sole proprietorship to a full-blown supply system, catering to the depraved needs of customers who had more money than they knew what to do with. The attendant turned full-time madam was known to seek out working air hostesses, as well as local models, recruiting them as her escorts, whose bodies would be traded for money sometimes on a nightly basis. She would take pictures of these girls in their airline uniforms and then forward them to potential customers, luring them to procure the girls for their amorous pleasure. But even with the number of girls under her watch, she never retired, and sometimes would even go out on these rendezvous along with her protégés. After the potential buyer received the lewd pictures, some would then make their orders and arrange for a meeting at a nearby hotel. But everything went bust in August 2023, when cops stormed a hotel under her control and found 30 women working under her, some of them actively working when the cops arrived. The bust sent shockwaves through the streets, as few could believe such a complex network existed in real life. Investigations later revealed that each of these girls were subjected to grueling interviews to ensure they were pretty enough and had the right physique the men would die for, so they could attract wealthy clients from around the world, willing to pay up to £700 for a 90-minute session and £2,000 for an overnight stay. Vooty Myon would then take her cut of £230 for each transaction. This lucrative stream of income sponsored Vooty Myon's lavish lifestyle, which included traveling around the world and taking expensive shopping trips. She collected expensive cars, designer bags, and a shoe collection that sparked jealousy in the hearts of many ladies who watched her content online. Thanks to her constant online presence, her social media following exploded to about 300,000 followers as her business base expanded further and further. Many of the ladies under her employ were drawn into the business, since it presented an easy route to make enough money needed to afford her lifestyle. It was also through this same social media platform that many of her clients would contact her, making orders for any kind of girl that catches their fancy. Hotels and resorts were provided, and many of these working women were transported to their destinations in luxury cars provided by their madam. Her arrest quickly became international news, and the world continues to pay attention to her trial process, observing the punishment she would have to endure as a consequence of her unlawful enterprise. Jane Doe 2. In the heart of Saudi Arabia's aviation industry, a scandalous story has emerged, involving an unnamed woman working at an unnamed airline who made around £650,000 from selling her body to passengers. All it took for her to make such a huge amount was 2 years of getting down with male customers in the plane's toilet, a business she perfected so well that it took a very long while for anyone to catch on to her. When they eventually caught her with a passenger in the lavatory, most co-workers found the news quite unbelievable. According to a Saudi Arabian source, the passenger admitted that she engaged in illicit activities with several passengers during flights, which was why she preferred long-distance trips between the Gulf and the United States. These trips give her the opportunity to locate her clients, who would then pay up to £1,500 to live out their mile-high fantasies in the lavatory. While the name of the airline involved was never publicized, sources were able to confirm that the flight attendant was immediately sacked and then deported, putting an end to her lucrative business venture. British Airways attendants' side business. The Mile High Club is a system deeply entrenched in the aviation industry, but even with the risk of losing their careers, more and more flight attendants continue to walk the same path, like this British Airways employee whose saucy social media posts caught the attention of his superiors. In order to lure the male passengers with wandering eyes, this flight attendant would post these suggestive pictures of herself in uniform on planes. This includes images of her in underwear, pulling up her skirt, and there's even one with the caption, "Dear passenger, I am your in-flight entertainment. What would you like me to do?" She also offered customers the chance to enjoy the thrill of romance in the air, or if they aren't willing to take the risk, there's also a chance to set up a one-on-one meeting in a hotel of choice upon landing. But that's not where it ends. As soon as the pictures got to the right offices, the lady was summoned for investigations into her activities, and that was where even more shocking revelations emerged. In one of the interviews, she revealed how she's been making extra money by selling her underwear to airline passengers and other depraved people online for £25 a pair. Putting her business out there, the woman placed a crucial message on her blog, suggesting to customers that she would be willing to offer adult entertainment to any of the passengers willing to shell out a few extra pounds to fulfill their deep-seated fantasies. Before we go on with the rest of the video, here's our subscribers' pick for today. The stories of former airline hostess Vooty Myon and Estes Thompson's disturbing actions may be polar opposites, but they stand as stark examples of the immorality that sometimes comes with working as a flight assistant, as flight attendants caught with customers. Vooty Myon, on one hand, was a full-blown pimp who linked air hostesses with rich passengers willing to throw money around and have a good time. In the process, she built a working system of demand and supply, raking in a sizable income from every single customer her girls linked up with. On the other hand, there's Thompson, who grew a dark habit of filming underage girls in the airplane's lavatory without their consent and using the images and videos for his sick pleasure. Their stories, shocking as they may seem, are only a few out of the countless incidents of that nature occurring in almost every high-class airline. What are your thoughts on these disturbing incidents and the public humiliation these attendants sometimes have to deal with? Share with us in the comments section below. Now, let's get back to the video. The Mile High Affair. While most illicit affairs take place between passengers and attendants, sometimes even the pilots can get entangled in this web of lies and deceit. But unlike many of the other stories explored in this video, this pilot wasn't caught on a plane, but in a 3-star hotel somewhere around the airport. It was a hotel guest at the Hilton Rialto in Melbourne, Florida, who caught the captain in the pool area with the colleague who brought the story to social media. According to those who worked together with the captain and flight attendant, other members of the crew had actually joined them earlier that day, while they flirted and drank rum and vodka together. But after the two were left alone, they took the innocent meeting to a whole new level before the observant hotel guest saw something unusual happening and reported to the senior hotel staff. Trusted sources also confirmed that the captain's marriage was a bit rocky at the time, and he apparently wanted a bit of companionship while traveling around the world. They also claimed that the pilot had asked if the stewardess could be scheduled to fly with him more regularly, a plan that has now become almost impossible after their secrets were exposed. But other sources close to the stewardess claimed that the fling was nothing more than a bit of fun for the stewardess, and she didn't exactly consider it a proper affair. It is also believed that the crew members had initially laughed off the incident. But soon, rumors began circulating that the complaint was being taken seriously by the TUI. Investigations also revealed that the both parties involved in the case were in their 40s and had been working together under the same airline for 5 years. Their fling only started a month before their discovery, while they were flying from Birmingham to Orlando. As for how their individual families took the news, well, that remains shielded from the public eye. But contrary to the expectations of many, the two faced no disciplinary actions from the airline, and they reportedly continued working together even after the whole scandal blew over. Natalie Smith. For 3 years, British expat Natalie Smith flew around the world with the Virgin Atlantic airline, gathering various kinds of experiences, both the good, bad, and the ugly. In an interview held after her exit from the airline, Smith revealed the wide range of wild things her eyes had seen, ranging from overly touchy customers to actual romps taking place during flights. The infamous Mile High Club, with its alluring reputation, has pushed many female attendants to bear it all and risk everything to get closer to wealthy passengers. She spoke of one of them, an unnamed woman who seduced and exploited dozens of passengers during her time at Virgin Atlantic, and whose story remained locked away in the hearts of her customers, who would never dare to share stories of their rendezvous. She also shared how some of the passengers she'd blow with were quite expressive with their hands, sometimes bordering on harassment. So, while most on-flight rumps are usually initiated by the attendants, there are times when the guests go out their way to hook up with the attractive hostess. According to a survey of over 11,000 dating website users from the United States and the United Kingdom, 30% of all hookups that take place in the air happen with strangers, and only on rare occasions do they happen with partners, friends, or crew members. 59% of these sexual escapades also take place in the bathroom, with up to 68% recorded on night flights. The survey also revealed that most of these encounters happen on private flights rather than commercial planes. During her interview, Natalie also revealed that while joining the Mile High Club wasn't necessarily illegal, attendants stand the risk of catching a misdemeanor charge, and if the airline believes that such a person has broken the law or offended those around them, they could have to call the police. Japan's Mile High Crisis. A risky intercourse in the cockpit between a pilot and an air hostess sounds like the plot of a bad adult film, but studies show such scenes are not uncommon in Japan, and it's becoming a big problem. While every nation around the world faces its own share of sexual scandals between passengers and crew, the Japanese aviation industry has taken things to a whole new level, with dozens of flight attendants now making extra income by getting into bed with the pilots. According to a report published by the Daily Mail, a number of unnamed female flight attendants told Japan's media outlet Shukan Post of how pilots often solicit these illicit services using hand signals to indicate their interest, and paying between $450 and $680 for just a 90-minute session. According to the report, women under 30 charge even more than that, shining a light on how lucrative this immoral industry has become. The system has become so deeply ingrained into the inner workings of several airlines that the pilots and hostesses have developed a secret method of operation so they don't get caught. Stewardesses who are willing to go all the way with pilots would pass their number to a senior stewardess who functioned as a female pimp. After work, some of these flight attendants would kickstart their part-time careers, working as escorts and hostesses in the swanky Ginza neighborhood of Tokyo. As airlines continue to crack down on these sex workers' ring continually emerging out of the industry, the question of illegality remains a major talking point. Then there's also the question of motivation, as debates continue to linger concerning whether these attendants are driven by greed and the love of money, forced to sell their bodies because of low pay, or simply just love the thrill and excitement that comes with engaging in the forbidden pleasures while soaring through the skies. Whatever their reasons may be, the public condemnation can be quite overwhelming, although the attention they get is one of the reasons many of them risk everything to become a part of the club. Will Japan ever clean up its airlines and restore professionalism and orderly conduct between staff and customers? Only time will tell. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.